Okay, this is part 3 on why I decided to transition, and we were about the time when I started to sort of engulf myself in trans stuff and kind of realize that I was trans. Um, kind of went on for years. Kind of, it did. Go on for years of me trying to figure this out and, slowly kind of realizing it. I don't know when exactly I really realized it, but it was many years ago. And I mentioned it to Megan. We kind of go back and forth on it. I was just really trying to be happy with myself and with my body the way it was, and just try and live with it, because that's how I was always raised. My mom would always say, well, I don't like everything about my body either, but, we just have to live with it, is what God gave us. I don't think, she still says that, but she's kind of getting off that now that I've had surgery and stuff, and now that I needed to. She's become very supportive, but I understand that, and I wanted to be happy, and I tried very, very hard to be happy the way I was, and not have to change anything. And I tried for years, and I would try and suppress these feelings of being trans, or wanting to change, or, the main thing I wanted was a lower voice. I could have kept everything else. I don't need facial hair, which I have, but it's not something that I really wanted. I always wanted sideburns, but I just want a lower voice. I would have loved to also have more muscles and a bigger clit, but hair is not something I wanted. I didn't want all these masculine things. I just wanted a lower voice. So I would suppress those feelings, and then they'd come back. And I would suppress them some more, and then they'd come back. And this whole cycle that went for years and years and years, trying to deal with this. Like, no, I don't need it. I'm going to try and be happy the way I am, and then not being able to make that happen. And over the years, the feelings would come back stronger and stronger every time, and with shorter intervals in between them of me trying to suppress them, until I just could not deal with them anymore. And I just had to do something about it. I would think about it every day. I was totally engulfed with it, and this would happen for years, and I was very depressed, and I didn't know what to do. I did struggle for a long time, and I wrote down some of the reasons, because I didn't really feel like a man. And I know I have some friends on LiveJournal who are genderqueer that are saying the same thing, especially now, like, trying to deal with these feelings and not feeling like a man, and I totally understand that. I still don't feel like a man, and I don't think I ever will. I don't want to be a man. I think a lot of that has to do with negative stereotypes. Maybe not stereotypes is the right word, but connotations of what it is to be a man, and a straight man at that. I was this queer, lesbian, female. I did not want to be a straight man in a straight relationship, and I still don't. We consider ourselves queer. What other people think and view, whatever, that's their business. They think I'm a gay man, and she is married to a gay man that hasn't come out yet. So, whatever. I'm not going to change how I act or anything. I'm still the same person. I just have a lower voice, and I'm more hairy. Anyway, so it was hard for me because I didn't feel like a man. I didn't want to be a man. I also didn't feel really like a woman. I sort of want to be in between. I want to be a boy, or boy with an I, so B-O-I. But I know that once I get older, it's going to be a lot harder to do, and I'll probably end up being what society views as a man, but that's not how I will ever view myself, and that's not how Megan will ever view me. So I struggled for a long time. Megan also struggled with it, which was another one of my kind of big issues, and why it took me so many years to start T. Megan and I have been together for over 7 years. It'll be 8 years next September. So she really struggled with it. She strongly identified as a female who liked other females, which I totally understand. I'm trying to remember when I started this timer. I think we have a ways to go before there's 10 minutes, but so it was really hard for her to deal with that, because it was hard enough for her to come out as lesbian in her very religious family, who did not accept her and still have kind of a hard time doing that. So she started with it, go back and forth. My mom tried to talk me out of it a lot. You know, she'd say she's gonna come wax my legs, and I don't know. I was reading back on my live journal when I first created a private live journal in 2005 when it was just devoted to trans stuff, so I stopped it on the other one. And I was reading through it to try and get ready for this video, and I had to stop reading through it because I just couldn't deal with it. And it was really hard for me to look back and read all the things I was feeling and things that had happened, and I think it's just stuff that I'm suppressed. Maybe someday I'll go back and read it, but it was just getting too hard, so I couldn't do it. But a lot of that had to do with Megan and my mom and wanting to be accepted. I did not want to lose Megan. I would have done anything to keep her, and I was denying who I was a little bit. She wanted me to be happy, and she wanted me to do this. But at the same time, she didn't, because she wanted me to be female. She wanted to be in a lesbian relationship. You know, she didn't like that she was going to have to try and deal with what it was going to mean to her and how people viewed her, all that kind of stuff. And I totally understand, because I was going through the same thing. And I wanted nothing more to be happy the way I was and keep our relationship the way it was. But it just got to a point where we could not do that. And when was it? 2005? 2006. June 11th, 2006 is the first time I went to a therapist when I was in Portland, when I was out working as a park ranger in a national park. I went to Portland to get a letter from a trans guy who's a therapist, and it was great. I was really happy. I wanted to start T that summer, but Megan was in Iowa and I was in Washington, and neither one of us really wanted to start me on T well. We were far away from each other. We wanted to be able to see the slow changes so that I didn't come back, and it was a big shock to her, you know, that I changed so much, and she wanted to be able to change with me. You know, she wasn't quite on board anyway, so I wanted to give her that. So when we got back to Iowa after my summer job, you know, we still struggled through it. I still wanted to be happy the way I was because, you know, Megan wanted that and didn't want me to transition. So I put it off for probably another year. Then I finally decided that, you know, I had to do something again. I just couldn't deal with it. And it was hurting our relationship because I couldn't deal with it. So I went to the doctor that I go to now, who gives me my testosterone, and, you know, he didn't like that this letter I'd gotten from Portland was from Portland. He wanted it to be from a therapist that he knew, and it was a year old, so I was supposed to go to therapy. I think I put that off too a little bit, but I went to therapy a few times, got my letter, and then finally started T. But it was a very long process of a couple of years of just going back and forth after I got that first letter. Because that was June 06 that I got the first letter, and I didn't start T until April of 08. So that was a good 2 years almost, going back and forth and just trying to be happy. The doctor also, he wanted me to see that other therapist, but he only understood gender binary, so he didn't understand that I wanted a lower voice and wanted some of these things, but I still wasn't going to view myself as male, you know, or a man or anything like that. So that was hard for him. So next time I went to him, I just kind of, you know, said that, yeah, this is what I want. I was way more confident that I want to be a man, blah, blah, blah. And now he's kind of come around, you know, and realized that there's a lot of variations in gender and how far you want to go with your transition and all that, because I've always been on a low dose of T, and that's what I've wanted. It's been good for me. It's got me all the changes, but I've never wanted to go, you know, full bore like everyone else right away. And he's really started to get kind of a handle on that. Alright, so I guess I'm going to have to make part 4, which will give me a chance to get my computer, which I was going to read you some of the stuff. But look for part 4.